Men is directed by Alex Garland and tells the story of Harper, a woman who retreats to a cabin in a small village in order to take her mind off of a recent tragedy. But strange events occur that bring out the worst of the people in the village that Harper must confront, as well as her past trauma of the recent tragedy. And this film was disappointing for me. There wasn't much for me to grasp onto in terms of a meaning, in terms of the overall meaning of the film. But I really liked the production of the film, and I like Alex Garland as a director. I really enjoyed Ex Machina, and I really enjoyed Annihilation. But the hype I had for this film just wasn't met, and it's not like I had extremely super high expectations. Like this is gonna be the greatest film ever. I just wanted to see a good movie, and to that, I didn't get a good movie. I think this movie is kind of dumb. I want to say the positives that I have for this film because there is quite a bit to appreciate here. It's a very good looking film with a beautiful color palette. I love the green palette for any time when Harper's outside going through nature. I love the red and orange palette for the scenes in which we have a flashback. I think those really help amplify the mood for the scenes, and it's a really good looking film. Every scene, every shot just looks crisp and clean, and it just looks really good. So props off to everyone who worked on that. I really liked the camera movements and the framing of a lot of the shots as well. And from what I remember, the score was very effective in suiting the scenes, whether they be tense or beautiful to look at. And some scenes did feel tense, and I could say that I felt creeped out by certain imagery and the framing of certain shots. But I'm not talking about the ending, as that made me feel something very different, and that's something I'll touch on in a little bit. I felt the acting was very strong, especially in the flashback scenes where we have to see the trauma and the tragedy that Harper had to go through. I was surprised that Rory Kinnear played multiple characters in the film, and to that, I think that's a really good job in the hair and makeup department because they all look vastly different. And the more I look back on it, yeah, they do look similar, but on my initial viewing of the film, I just thought they were all different people who all just seem to act the same and have the same traits. That being, they're all kind of assholes. This is a very slow paced film, and for the setup, it actually works. It actually helps bring about a more supernatural and religious element to the film because it's heavily implied that supernaturalistic and religious elements are very important, especially with the meaning and overall themes of the film. But after that setup, everything just seems to drag, and the film did honestly get kind of boring from there. I felt that some segments could have been cut out entirely, or some scenes could have been shortened down quite a bit to help with the runtime and to help with how boring this film actually felt. Because after the setup, it feels a lot longer than it really needs to be, and it feels really boring. Now, this part was very hard for me to really think about, but I'm going to be reading my script that I have here because I carefully worded it because it is my biggest issue with the film. So here we go. My biggest gripe with the film is the portrayal of the theme, as it is something important and it has good intentions, but I felt that it was never conveyed properly, especially in the ending. I'm not saying film bad because men bad, as to what a lot of people on Twitter and shit say. I'm saying that I felt the message, mainly the ending of the film, was confusing as to what it meant and how it relates to the grief of Harper and what she's dealing with. I can understand the portrayal of toxic traits in men and how they try to justify their actions with it being a bad way of thinking logically and how it hurts others, but I didn't see how it ties into Harper's personal story. Although it was shown that Harper was dealing with an abusive partner who exhibited toxic traits, they differ far too much from the toxic traits of the village people and make it seem disconnected, especially when an important aspect of her character is how she is grieving. It is made apparent that the men in the village are to resemble her partner, as some of the men who get wounded have the injuries seen on her partner, who either committed suicide or accidentally fell to his death, which plays into a big part of how Harper is grieving. But the biggest talking point of the film is most likely the ending, as it is very unique, but it wasn't something I enjoyed. It's the men of the film giving birth in a very gross way to the other men she encountered at the village, from one to the next, with it ending with their deceased partner, and the two have a conversation. I wasn't disturbed because of the imagery. They're just vaginas and people just keep coming out of them, whatever. I was disturbed because of how long it lasted for and how unnecessary it felt. That and I wasn't sure what to get out of it. I heard that it's supposed to represent how toxic masculinity breeds toxic masculinity, but I didn't see the connection to Harper's story, which made it even more frustrating to see, and it just makes the ending seem very pointless. Overall, this is a film that I was very much looking forward to that ended up disappointing. Everything filmmaking wise was great except for the story, mainly that being the second half of the film, and that was a huge letdown for me. I got bored for a while and I was becoming uninterested for a while. Still, I didn't regret watching it. It's good to see new movies, especially from a director like Garland, who I like. I'm giving Men a D+. It just didn't do anything for me. It actually frustrated me more the thought about it, and it didn't do much for me. I still like Garland as a director. I'll still see what he has to make, but overall, this film, it did nothing for me. So, have you seen Men? What did you think about it? Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. And I'll be back with more movie reviews that I've seen and haven't had a chance to talk about. So, bye.